Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today, so let's start off talking about Vince Russo. Now, I know some people roll their eyes and go, Owen, this is meant to be a WWE news video. Why are we talking about Vince Russo? Why are Vince Russo's opinions, what do they mean in 2021? And I'm with you. I feel you. But this is something that has generated quite a bit of conversation, so I do think it's probably worth touching on. And certainly, in my opinion, sharing my views on what Vince Russo has said here. And I really want to know your opinion on what Vince Russo has said as well. So we're going to get into it. And former WWE head writer Vince Russo has been very critical of SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch and her ability to cut a promo. Now, former WWE and WCW head writer Vince Russo believes SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch is terrible at cutting promos. Now, Russo hosts the Raw Post Show for Sportskeeda. Of course, I write articles for Sportskeeda, so just being transparent there, and I'm not going to be biased when it comes here. And he made some comments about Becky Lynch on the post-WWE 2021 Draft Night 2 edition of Monday Night Raw this past week. This is what Russo had to say about Becky Lynch. He said, quote, "Listen, I don't know. I don't know what people have convinced themselves of, and I've been saying this for years and years and years. Becky Lynch is supposed to be so over, but from the very first time I saw her on NXT until tonight, so how long is that, Chris? I saw her on NXT, how long is that? Okay, all that time. Becky Lynch cannot cut a promo. She cannot. She's terrible at cutting promos. She's so over the top cutting promos. She is terrible. I'm sorry, man. I'm telling you from a professional point of view, and if it were me, I would be running Becky, because her promos should be a lot better than they are. A lot better than they are. I'm sorry, man. I'm just being honest." Now, Russo continued and pointed out to how names like Universal Champion Roman Reigns and Hall of Famers Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels can do it all, but Lynch needs to work on her promos. She said, quote, "Hey, listen, Chris, this is a tough business. And when you can do it all, you're going to be a superstar, you know? Austin could do it all. Reigns can do it all. Michaels can do it all. Becky's strong suit is not her promos. I would have repetition, and I would be working with her until I'm exhausted." So certainly a controversial comment there by Russo when it comes to Becky Lynch and her promos. To be honest with you, obviously I disagree. With what Vince Russo is saying. In my opinion, it's just the opposite. I think that Becky Lynch's strong point is her promos. I think if you're going to compare all of the four horsewomen from NXT, whether that's Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch, in my opinion, Becky's strong suit is her promos. It's her personality. It's her character. The thing that I think possibly could need improving about Becky Lynch is actually her in-ring work. I think out of all the horsewomen, she's probably this is going to sound really, really negative, but out of the four horsewomen, she's probably the worst in the ring out of Bayley, Banks, Charlotte Flair. I think the evidence is there to back that up. The other three have had better matches than Becky Lynch. That's not to say that Becky Lynch is bad in the ring, because she's not. She's one of the best workers in WWE, in the women's division, certainly one of the best female wrestlers in the world. There's no doubt about it, but in my opinion, Banks, Bayley, Flair, they're better in the ring than Becky Lynch. But where Becky Lynch really does thrive, and where she's got so over since, she was over always, but certainly obviously since the heel turn in 2018, which turned into a babyface turn, which led to the rise of Becky Lynch, which led to her winning the first ever women's main event of WrestleMania in 2019, WrestleMania 35. That all stems from Becky Lynch's ability to cut a promo. You connect with the audience via your ability to cut promos and your personality, and obviously your work in the ring kind of backs that up, but especially in WWE, it's not as if work rate is overly respected by those in charge in WWE. It might be by the fans, but certainly WWE has programmed its audience to say you have to enjoy the character first. You have to connect on an emotional level with the character and the wrestler, and the wrestling will back that up, but it's about your ability to connect with an audience. Becky Lynch has managed to do that through her personality, through her promos. She was one of the real, in my opinion, first people in WWE that managed to get really over with not just her personality on screen and her promos on screen, but also her personality and promos almost on social media. Her social media game was, and it still is in fairness, as strong as anyone in WWE history. It is. So Vince Russo saying that Becky Lynch can't cut a promo, I find it funny. I find it funny because a lot of people question Vince Russo for his ideas, the things he says, his gimmicks, and his things he's written throughout the years, and so on a pole, Judy Bagwell on a forklift, the The stuff that Vince Russo has done, which hasn't been good, is endless. And don't get me wrong, Vince Russo was writing during the Attitude Era, and I know it's a kind of a fence-sitting answer, but there is good and bad to Vince Russo. His view on pro wrestling, in my opinion, at this point in 2021, is outdated. In the same way that Bruce Pritchard's view on professional wrestling in 2021 is outdated. And in his mind, Vince Russo, Becky Lynch can't cut a promo. Why? I don't know. I can't get in Vince Russo's head, thank God. But I don't know why he thinks that, whether it's because Becky Lynch has an accent or because she talks in a certain way. I don't know. I'm not a complete fan of this Becky Lynch character that she's doing right now, this heel version of Becky. Becky Big Bucks, whatever they're calling her. I preferred the old version of Becky Lynch. I preferred the version of Becky Lynch in 2018, which I said she had a bit of edge to her character. She started off as a heel, but she transitioned into a babyface. And at that point, the issue with Becky Lynch, in my opinion, was that she became too squeaky clean of a babyface. She should have stayed a bit like Steve Austin in that, turned into a babyface, but the character never changed. But in my opinion, again, Becky Lynch's strong suit is the promo. That's, if anything, that's the reason she's been as successful as she's been in WWE over the last few years. So obviously I disagree, but I think it's a talking point nevertheless. So interesting to see what you guys think. Is Becky Lynch terrible at cutting promos? You can let me know in the comment section below. Let's move on and talk about NXT. Of course, last night was another episode of NXT 2.0 on the USA Network, and we have an NXT Championship match that is set for Halloween Havoc. NXT Halloween Havoc is returning this year, and it's been announced for Tuesday, October 26th on the USA Network. Now, the main event of Halloween Havoc this year will see Braun Breaker challenge NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship. Now, last night on NXT, Tommaso Ciampa issued a call to any potential challenger to face him at Halloween Havoc, asking who has big enough balls to take the belt from him. Now, obviously, Braun Breaker answered that call and the challenge was accepted. I think that we're going to see a new NXT champion. I felt that when Tommaso Ciampa won the championship, I think it was going to be the same thing that we kind of saw with Samoa Joe if he was champion, that he wouldn't hold the belt for long. We know the direction that NXT is going in, or they're in right now when it comes to younger guys, bigger guys, less experienced guys coming from an athletic background, whether it's pro football, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the NFL, whether it's whatever it may be, whether it's bodybuilding, powerlifting, fitness modeling. That's the direction that WWE wants to go in. It's the mid-2000s approach to WWE developmental. And it always felt like when Ciampa won the championship, that is so contradictory of the direction that brand is going in right now. So Braun Breaker's the standout in NXT. And again, this is the thing. A lot of people criticize Vince McMahon. A lot of people criticize Bruce Pritchard for this new direction of NXT because it's so different from what NXT was. But we have seen the rise of people like Braun Breaker, and I think universally everyone will say that has watched episodes of NXT over the course of the last few weeks is that Braun Breaker's great. I mean, he really is. For the amount of experience that he has, remember this time last year, I think he was still in the NFL. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Whether it's the genetics, whether it's just being a fast learner, I don't know. Whether it's being a second generation star, he has it, and he has a look, and he has a personality, and he's decent in the ring. And if this is him in his early stages of his career, how good could he become? And I think that's what WWE are realizing. And this is a guy that can be the centerpiece of this brand for the next, I mean, he could get called up to the main roster very quickly, in my opinion. But he could be the centerpiece for the roster, for this brand, rather, for the remainder of the year. And then maybe he's in the Royal Rumble match next year. I don't know. But I think Braun Breaker is going to win that championship, and I think that's the right call. I really do. He's just, his promos are great as well. Even though he's Rick Steiner's son, he sounds a lot more like his uncle Scott. He just sounds exactly like Scott Steiner, and it's great. It's great. He's just obviously got a great look, a great personality, and I think he's going to win the championship. I think it's going to be a big special. Halloween Havoc did very well for WWE and NXT last year in terms of the ratings on the USA Network. I would assume it will probably be the same on October 26th when that happens, and I think we're going to see a new NXT champion. I really do. And again, I don't think that's a bad call whatsoever. I think Braun Breaker's an absolute star, and I think WWE knows that. The only thing is, change the name. Please change the name. Braun Breaker is just the worst name. Rex Steiner is a great name. I know WWE wants to trademark things. I know WWE wants to own names. I know there is significant heat with WWE, and not so much Rick Steiner, but definitely Scott Steiner. But you've got the guy in NXT, and the guy's money Bend over backwards to make him happy, whether that's giving him the last name Steiner, because eventually they will. Braun Breaker, it's one of those names, and this is my only gripe about the whole package, if you will, is the name. It's one of those names that if Braun Breaker's doing a talk show, or he's on Good Morning America, whatever he may be, whatever show he appears on, you just know that when the presenters are going to say it, they'll just be like in their head going, that's such a wrestling name, and that name just, it's a laughable name, and it's one of those names, they'll go Braun Breaker, and it's one of those names that if you have friends that aren't pro wrestling fans, you're a little bit embarrassed to say, what's his name? Braun Breaker, because it's such a pro wrestling name that you would see in like The Simpsons or Futurama when they do a wrestling episode where Homer Simpson becomes a pro wrestler and you're going to go up against the Destroyer or Braun Breaker. It's that kind of stuff. It's like, oh. So change the name, and I think you've got a megastar in your hand. I think you've got a megastar in your hand anyway with Braun Breaker, but the name, please, we need to change that. Last night on NXT 2.0, we also saw the debut of Tony DAngelo just in time for the Many Saints of Newark to come out for. What a coincidence. What a coincidence, right? I'm sure it's completely unrelated. But Tony DAngelo made his arrival on NXT 2.0 last night. The episode saw the Mafia-connected amateur wrestler defeat Malik Blade in singles action. Blade was also make his NXT debut. This was interesting, actually. It looks like DAngelo is going to be receiving a push in NXT 2.0. After weeks of the coming soon teaser vignettes, DAngelo debuted this week being billed as from the mean streets of Chicago. He received significant praise on social media from fans and wrestlers. Now, DAngelo is the former NCAA wrestler Joe Areola. He signed with WWE back in the February Performance Center class and was an undefeated state and national champion in high school. He then competed for the University of Buffalo in college. He qualified for the NCAA tournament in 2016. Now, DAngelo appeared later on during this week's NXT 2.0 show and interrupted a backstage segment as Lash Legend was hyping up her second Lashing Out talk show episode, which, of course, the first one aired last week and it was awful. The next one is going to be airing next week. DAngelo told her to have him as a guest on the show if she wants to get the real eyeballs on the program. DAngelo walked off, and Legend told her friends that she liked DAngelo in the new Sopranos movie. Again, because that's what this character is based off. Again, in my opinion, look, someone in WWE, and maybe we'll get the story out a bit like the Nikki Ash thing. Oh, he came up with the character himself, fine. But he, or whoever came up with the gimmick, said, you know what, they'd either watched The Sopranos on HBO Max, or they saw the trailer for The Many Saints of Newark, and they went, you know what, why don't we bring that back? It's he would not be out of place whatsoever in 1990 or 1995 in the new generation with the vignettes and all that kind of stuff. I can make a lot of money being an organized crime, but you know where I can make more money? NXT. Okay, of course you can. And I think this is the thing. When I saw the teaser vignettes, my visceral reaction was just that. This is so outdated because it's so 1990s, so 1995, 1985, The vignettes would not be out of place on an episode of WWE Superstars or Wrestling Challenge or whatever that may be, right? That's what it felt like. And I know that last night, he looked great in the ring and the character was over, certainly with the audience in the NXT arena there at the Performance Center. And he did get praise from a lot of people on social media, whether it's critics or wrestlers themselves or superstars, because I think the gimmick is a bit of a throwback to the new generation, to the golden generation, that kind of stuff. My concern hasn't changed, though, in the sense that this gimmick has a ceiling. Is the guy that is portraying someone from The Sopranos, is he going to be WWE champion? No, he's not in that gimmick. That's just the case. Now, the gimmick obviously will evolve over time if he is to be successful, which he could be, you never know, but I just look at gimmicks like this and I think they just have a ceiling. But WWE does this. They weave in and out of it. The character Eugene, which no one likes to talk about, but the character Eugene stemmed from Vince McMahon suddenly one day going, we need to make characters again. We need to have characters. And then the next day, Eugene showed up on Monday Night Raw. And you kind of get the impression that maybe they've done the same here. We need to bring characters back. We need to have characters. We need to have gimmicks. Bruce Pritchard's kind of overseeing these things in NXT at this point, and Vince McMahon certainly is as well, and they're deciding where they want characters to go. And it wouldn't be surprising at all if in a couple of weeks or a couple of months or a couple of years' time, when we're reflecting on this time period, what happened when NXT turned into NXT 2.0? You hear the story about Vince McMahon suddenly decided that we need to be creating characters in NXT 2.0 that could transition to the main roster. And this is what it feels like. But again, look, last night was good. I don't know about the longevity of this one. I don't know about the ceiling behind Tony DAngelo, but last night was fun. So I guess you have to go on a week-to-week basis at the moment, but when I look long-term, that's where I'm a bit skeptical, shall we say, about this gimmick. But he was great. He was great in the ring, and he is entertaining, and maybe that's a start. Who knows? Speaking of new names on NXT 2.0, you can see him right there. Parker Boudreaux made his debut last night, now going by the name of Haaland with a new look. Now, that is not Gene Snitsky. That is Parker Boudreaux, because Haaland has arrived in NXT 2.0. Last night saw the former Parker Boudreaux make his first official appearance for the company after Joe Gacy defeated Ikeman Jaro in singles action. Gacy helped Jaro to his feet and hugged him. Gacy then exited the ring all smiles while putting up a peace sign in the air. Gacy stopped at the entranceway and looked up into the stands where he saw a man staring down at him. That man was Haaland. Now, Haaland, of course, is sporting a new look with a shaved head, and many didn't even notice who it was at first because Parker Boudreaux is all over social media. People have their critics of him because I think he vanity searches and he's had some clashes with people on social media. But it looks like his first feud could be with Gacy on NXT television, although WWE has teased that Gacy may try and recruit Haaland. Now, WWE originally gave the name Gunnar Haaland to Boudreaux, but they seemingly have dropped the Gunnar just days later. He signed with WWE earlier this year as part of the February Performance Center class. He gave up college football and came to the company with a strong buzz on social media after being compared to a young Brock Lesnar by many and being praised by Paul Heyman. So it's kind of... It's humorous, shall we say, because what this guy has going for him, obviously, and the way he has a lot of buzz, obviously he's a great athlete, college football player, and has a bit of an aura about him, shall we say. So what does WWE do? Instead of playing into that, what should we do? The guy has buzz because he looks like Brock Lesnar, and he's already being touted as one of the next big things, a bit like Brock Lesnar back in the day. So what should we do? Make sure he doesn't look like Brock Lesnar whatsoever. Take the look away from him. Shave his head and make him look like Gene Snitsky in 2007, 2008. Why? Why not? Why not? And again, we don't know what the character is. Haaland, bold guy, blue lights. He looks scary. We'll have to wait and see what their plans are for the gimmick. But again, he had a bit of buzz about him anyway because of the way he looked, because of Paul Heyman praising him. And I know some people say, isn't it a good thing that they would distance themselves from looking like Brock Lesnar? But he doesn't look like Brock Lesnar of today, or he didn't before he shaved his head or anything like that. Brock Lesnar today doesn't even look like Brock Lesnar of a couple of years ago. Brock Lesnar's got a ponytail. He's wearing a flannel shirt like a jacked up Mick Foley. This guy looks like he's about to drop kick a baby doll into the audience like Gene Snitsky did on Monday Night Raw in 2004, whenever that was. It's just, I don't know about this one. I really don't know about this one. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see how well it does indeed play out. But I was just surprised they radically changed his look by this. But WWE can be like that. They're obsessed. Oh, shave his head. Adam Cole, why don't you cut your hair? Why? Well, why not? And then they probably do it and go, this guy looks like crap with his haircut. So I don't get the need to change the look. Maybe because they want to distance themselves from Brock Lesnar, like I said. But he doesn't look like Brock Lesnar, or didn't look like Brock Lesnar of today anyway. So it is what it is. WWE's like that. The NXT North American Championship is actually going to be defended. Can you believe it? Yes, because Isaiah Swerve Scott will actually make his first defense of the title next week on NXT 2.0 against Santos Escobar. This is the first time that Swerve Scott is going to have defended the championship since winning the championship back at the end of June. Yes, at the end of June, June 29, Isaiah Swerve Scott won the North American Championship. It's October, and he's never defended the championship, and he's barely part of the NXT roster anymore because Hit Row have been called up to Friday Night SmackDown during night one of the draft. So a lot of people said as soon as Scott was called up to SmackDown with Hit Row, well, that means he's dropping the North American Championship sometime soon, or very soon, certainly in the weeks before Crown Jewel, because that's when all of these changes go into effect. So everyone said, well, the next North American Championship match, that's going to be the final match. It's going to be the first and last title defense for Isaiah Swerve Scott. And a lot of people said that they thought Santos Escobar would win that championship anyway. The one thing I will say is maybe they don't do the title change next week. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do it next week. Look, when is Halloween Havoc? Halloween Havoc is on October 26th. That's when Halloween Havoc is. Now, the roster becomes official on Friday, October 22nd. So Halloween Havoc is the following Tuesday afterwards. I wouldn't be stunned even if these changes to the brand go in effect then, that they decide, you know what, everyone thinks there's going to be a title change next week. And it might be. They might just go in that direction and then that's done. But I wouldn't be surprised if they said, you know what, everyone thinks there's going to be a title change next week. Maybe we don't do that. Maybe we do a screwy finish, no contest, disqualification, whatever. We then do the title change on Halloween Havoc, and then Hit Row can officially move to SmackDown to part NXT then. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. I really wouldn't. Because people feel like they know what's going to happen here. And I wouldn't put it past WWE to try and throw a bit of a swerve here. You see the pun there? I didn't even know I was going to do that. Let's talk about the Raw viewership. Monday's live draft Night 2 edition of Raw drew an average of 1.857 million viewers on the USA Network, according to Nielsen by Showbuzz Daily. This is up nearly 9% from last week's 1.709 million viewers for the post-Extreme Rules episode. The draft edition drew a 0.52 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic. This is up again over 8% from last week's 0.48 key demo rating. Now, Raw ranked number 13 for the night in terms of viewership on cable, behind the NFL on ESPN, Monday Night Countdown on ESPN, Monday Night Kickoff on ESPN, the post-show on ESPN, etc. Monday Night Football continues to dominate. It always will. Raw ranked number 6 for the night in terms of the cable top 150 with that 0.52 rating. This week's edition of Raw, though, drew the best audience and key demos since the return of Monday Night Football, which WWE, again, will be very, very happy with. Now, in comparison to the 2020 WWE Draft edition of Monday Night Raw, this draft's episode was only down 0.1% in total viewership, but it was down nearly 9% in the key demo. So that is certainly interesting. Of course, WWE, they'll be very happy. They'll be very happy with that number because it's 1.8 to close to 1.9 million viewers, and the key demo rating was relatively strong. But again, if you look at it year on year, whilst the viewership is essentially flat, they would have been hoping that, wow, with the return of fans, surely the viewership will go up, and it's not, and the key demo has gone down. But that's the pattern for Raw. Year on year, Raw goes down in everything every year. It always does. And whilst WWE will be happy with that, the pattern still hasn't changed there. But I think that comes into, television changing. Isn't it like something like the average viewer of television is like 61 years old? Speaks volumes, doesn't it? It really does speak volumes about just the state of television right now. Finally, let's talk about Dana Brooke. This is an interesting story. Now, Dana Brooke has apparently responded to comments made by Corey Graves during her loss to Shayna Baszler on Monday Night Raw this week. This is what Corey Graves said on Raw during Dana Brooke's match. He said, quote, "I'm all for giving people time to develop, giving people time to realize their potential, but on a long enough timeline, you got to cut your losses. You can give me a chest full of tools. That doesn't mean I can build you a house, okay? It's a matter of putting things together, and Dana Brooke, in my opinion, hasn't exactly done that." Now, Dana Brooke responded on her social media stories on Instagram saying, quote, "You cannot entertain everything regardless of if it's indirect or direct. Let people do what they do best, talk. You'll act like you're gonna die because someone said something about you. It is not that deep. You cannot stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. Once you entertain a clown, you become one. You, the clown. I'm the queen. Keep pushing through. Watch me work." So this is the thing, and I mentioned this on social media yesterday. What Corey Graves said on Monday Night Raw isn't exactly false, is it? Dana Brooke has been with the company for a really long time. Has she achieved anything? No. But at the end of the day, this is pro wrestling, and you can only really achieve what you're booked to. Yes, some people get over despite the company. That has happened on the rare occasion for tremendous talents. But at the end of the day, your success is determined on what creative is brought up for you. And that's the situation. And look, Corey Graves probably wasn't saying that because he felt that. He was most likely, again, think about this. This is announcing. He was probably told by Vince McMahon or Bruce Pritchard on headset, say this, say this, say this. Because that's what they do. And again, I don't put the heat on Corey Graves, but I'm not an advocate for someone basically saying, even in storyline, this person should be fired because they suck. That doesn't seem right or fair, does it? But it is what it is. Let me know your opinion on that one. But look, guys, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these WWE news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Got the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.